So traders, another great week with the actual stock market itself. Another amazing week. I want to do something a little bit different in this video. I want to quickly touch on the markets itself, but initially I want to start off with some of my boxing training and how that relates to your trading. I've been doing some boxing training for my next fight coming up, and I want to share some things with you that I think is really important for you as a trader. So this is going to be a bit more different type of video. So let's get straight into it, guys. Don't place a trade based on what you'll see in this video because there is no guarantees of making a profit in the market. It takes you a long time to become a good trader. So this video here is just to educate you to become a much better trader. Alrighty, traders. So let's get straight into it. Traders, if you haven't done so yet, that first link in the description there, guys, click on that. Go get access to the free trading course. There's something like 4 or 5 hours worth of trading techniques, strategies, systems, and process. Plus also the very first video you get is me. I'm going to give you my system for free that I use when I'm actually trading the markets. Now, I've just finished off another amazing week when it comes down to my boxing. This is obviously me and my coach yesterday. Massive progress this week. And the big thing I really want to share with you is this, okay? So I want to play some videos for you. So the first video that I want to play for you is this one here. Now I want to play this with you because I think when it comes down to your trading, a lot of people that are trading the markets right now, or a lot of people that have just started out, maybe your first couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years, you're trying to get a good understanding of what this market's all about, right? I've been trading the markets for 19 years. And if you want sort of the condensed version of the most important things that I've learned over the last 19 years, the biggest mistakes, the trading techniques, the indicators and the systems I use, again, I'm giving that all away for free in that first link in the description there. But this video here is more about giving you a bit of an understanding of what it's all about, okay? See, when I actually started trading, I had no idea about what to do, right? But there is a stepping stone of starting to layer some things out there. Now, if we are not focusing on the most important things to us as a trader, then it's going to take us a long time to actually get there. One of those things could be simple trend analysis, right? Because we know if there's a really good, strong trend in place, as an example, right? We have a good, strong uptrend. We know that the best trades are what? With the best trades and the most highest probability trades, and the best trades have actually given us a much more of a good return to our risk is what? When we have a good trend, we go with that trend. We understand that, right? So trying to trade these little counter trends or little pullbacks or what you call them is probably not going to be. Then we can overlay that with some other with other things, right? That's what I do for my coaching clients. But the purpose of me telling you this is that it takes hours and hours and hours of going over drills like with my boxing, right? For you to start to really get up to speed. I think a lot of people when they enter the markets, but then they want to become, they want to get really, 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 really good. They want to start doing combinations, punching and so on and so forth really quickly, right? So let me just do this here, right? So this here, what you're about to see here. So this here is obviously me and my coach. Now we've actually done we've actually been working together for a while now. But as I'm doing these punches here, right? As I'm doing these punches here, there's a foundations to me actually doing well at a boxing, right? What is that foundation? The foundation is what? Good leg stance. And stuff like that, right? Good leg stance, twisting and turning, not trying to use like balls power, but more like twisting and turning and so on and so forth, right? And speed and so on and so forth. So again, I'm not a professional boxer at all, right? I still have a long way to go for my next fight, and so I've been training now for the last month or so. But I want to share this with you here as in that. So let's have a look at this here. So you see what my coach is doing there, right? He's just He's getting me focused on one thing. Now, by the way, guys, this one thing, which is right hand, he's trying to get me to what? get it properly, get it right. It's like the way that I punch, but the way that I punch is what's happening with my hand, what's happening with my feet, and how am I twisting with my shoulder or with my hips and my legs, my feet, and rolling with my shoulder and so on and so forth, right? So for you guys that are boxers, you know what I'm talking about. But the purpose of me saying this, right, is that you don't go from this here to start going up. You don't learn the basics, right, which is good footwork and so on and so forth, and then suddenly you want to go straight into doing some really good, amazing combinations and sliding and pivoting and all that sort of stuff, which I'll show you in just a minute, right? You slowly build up to it. And I think a lot of traders, when they get into these markets, they want to go straight to 100% straight away, and they blow themselves out of the markets. Just take your time, right? And really understand what is the foundations, what is really the foundations to you doing more. So if you do the right hand drill or the leg works, then we can start to what? Slowly build up to maybe some more after a while, after you've been getting good with your footwork, right? And after you've been getting good with, say, your right hands, maybe we can add some more drills in there. So right, so you saw me just then, right? So instead of me just doing right hand, it was what? It was me now adding a bit more combinations to that, right? So, and again, it's a stepping stone. It's the footwork, it's the right hand, and now guess what he's doing? He started to add some other different combinations in there that I can do, right? And then you can start to build up. And then you go from that, and then you go to, so you don't go, like I cannot go straight into I cannot, if I'm brand new to boxing, right? I cannot go straight into boxing and suddenly want to start to do amazing combinations, even know how to actually throw a proper punch, right? Twisting, turning, so on and so forth. I need the foundations. And I think some of you guys that are trading right now, you don't have a good foundations. And the foundations for you is that I want to make a quick buck. I just want to get into anything right now that makes it look like a good trade, but you haven't got any foundations of what is important for you for long term as a trader, right? What's important for me as a boxer? It's my footwork. It's me being light on my feet. It's been there's different stances and so on and so forth. It's me learning how to twist my feet and so on and so forth to actually do that, right? So as a stepping stone, but you don't go from, say, nothing with no training at all to even a couple of years to suddenly blasting out there making millions of dollars or doing something like this, right? Here's a video that I took, I think it was just yesterday. Check this out. Right, so I'm gonna pause the video here for a minute. Okay, you saw what I was doing there, right? I was just doing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4, and then I added a pivot and then another 1 2. But the layer of what I'm talking about here is a lot of traders, when they're entering the markets, they want to go from, all right, I don't even know how to trade these markets yet. I don't really understand what I'm doing, but I want to go straight to, I want to skip the leg work. Skip proper punching. I want to skip learning how to do a pivot and a 1 2. I just want to win the boxing match. Do you see what I'm saying there? There is stepping stones to this, and if we can start to overlay it, as you can see there, and then now after a period of many weeks of being back in the boxing, then I can start to add some really big combinations like you're about to see. So there we go there, right? So now I'm going full pult, right? So, but now what is my coach doing? He's getting me back to basics. Where's my feet? What's my foot? 1, 2, 1, 2. Right, and so I wanted to share that with you. Right, this is obviously training. Man, look at my face. Can I zoom in on this one? Like, look at my face here. Right, it is absolutely spent. This is when my coach. This was actually early on this week. He took it a bit easy on me yesterday. This is actually Saturday morning for me right now, but yesterday, Friday, this was actually Tuesday, and he really just pushed me hard. But the purpose of me saying what I'm just saying there, and I'm bringing up the boxing training, is that one, I want to challenge you guys out there. You guys out there, I want to challenge you guys to go take on something physical, right? Because as a man, right, we go through challenge, right? So yes, the challenge of the stock market is definitely challenging, right? Especially if you don't know what you're doing. Again, if you really want to get a good breakdown of the biggest mistakes you're making, the top chart reading techniques that I use, the trading system that I use, and so on and so forth, the foundations, then again, that first thing in the description there, guys, you get that free trading course there. I'm there to help you out, okay? But the purpose of me sharing this with you is that I cannot go into my boxing, right, and having a fight. I cannot just rock up to a boxing fight and then wanting to win it. What do I need to do? I need to go back to training. What is the training? The training is, okay, do I have the proper footwork? If not, my coach is going to do a whole bunch of 20, 30 minutes just of footwork drills, foot technique drills, right, to make sure my feet are properly where they are. Make sure my hands are where they're supposed to be. Make sure my head is not too high. Make sure I'm twisting and turning, right? There's a layer of these things. And then the purpose of me saying this is that once you start to get really good at what I teach, which is the foundations of the markets, because I trade all markets, traders, right? You can use the Indian market, the stock market, the Australian market. Like, I trade all markets out there, and I'm looking at all markets out there. I only trade a couple hours a day myself. But when I'm looking at it, I'm really looking at just a handful of main things to get a good understanding of this. But the more I do it, guess what? It becomes unconscious competence. But if I'm practicing the wrong stuff, it's just not going to be good, right? And so going into your trading, when looking at the markets here, you start to see patterns of the markets, and you start to get a good understanding of, we never know definitely what's going to happen, right? There's no certainties of anything that's going to happen, right? But there is probabilities of certain things happening. Now, what do I mean by that? What does that actually mean? Well, a probability, right? A probability in the markets is just that. There's a probability. Now, for example, let me give you an example here of what I mean here. So, for example, if we have an example of a pattern that forms in the markets, right, that you can start the layer of understanding, give us a bit of a probability. A pattern that forms in the market is that when the market has a very big move up, but then has a little sideways movement like this, and then goes for another move again, this here is likely to be a false breakout, because there is a thing called using fuel or using energy and then resting. And using energy, when the market's going up like this, I think it's in phase. There's 2 videos on this topic here in that free trading course, but there's a thing called using fuel through here, right? Using a lot of fuel for there. And because we used all this fuel and then we have a little pullback, it gives us one last little push. And then guess what happens? If we have a look at this here, we've used all this energy, and then you have a little bit of rest and you get to go again. Do we really have enough energy to go for another big move, or do we need a bit more of a rest, right? We need a bit more of a rest, right? That's where, the high intense sort of workout, right? I need a couple of minutes rest to get going, right? So we need obviously a lot more what's called time, a lot more sideways movement to rest for a bit to get ready to go again. Right, this is how markets work in a whole through there. So if I bring up an example of what I'm talking about here, if I look at the Nasdaq here, this is the Nasdaq. Nasdaq futures 100, and this is the hourly chart. Exactly what I'm talking about here. Right now, this again, what I'm talking about here is that when you start to really focus on the most important parts to your trading and get good at that, that's when things start to take off. if I went and did some boxing, but I just did some, if I went and did some boxing, but I just went and got some boxing, I did some boxing classes, right? So some general boxing classes. Am I going to really get good there? Or am I going to get good by actually what? By the way, this is actually taken yesterday, by going to see my coach. By the way, my coach is a super coach. He's got athletes, professional fighters that are on pay-per-view type of cards, right? So what am I going to, how am I going to really supercharge my growth moving forward? Is it me just guessing? Or is it me saying, you know what, coach, I have no idea what I'm doing. You show me, right? And then obviously that's when we go there, right? And by the way, just such a good photo of me and my coach. He's such a phenomenal guy. Anyway, and so the purpose of me saying that is that after a while, after you start to remove, and like a lot of people, and what I'm getting here is that a lot of people, the classes are like the indicators in the markets, right? The stochastics, the RSIs, the MACDs, the Kelter channels. That's where most of your focus is, and not actually what the market is doing. And so because we become so not focused on the most important thing, and we're not getting good at that most important thing, we stop seeing these patterns. And we think something's getting ready to go again when it's actually more like a false breakout. And this is the exact same pattern here, right? Just like I drew a minute ago. Look at this here. Straight up, little pullback. Why did this fail and then come straight back down? Why? Remember I said before, it's using the fuel analogy, right? We used all this fuel to go up, and then we just had a little bit of rest and we get to go again. That's like me training balls to the wall, a 3-minute session with my coach, bam, 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 doing all the combinations, slipping, sliding, all that sort of stuff that I just shared with you a minute ago, right? And then doing that for 3 minutes, and then the coach giving me 20-second rest, and I've got to go again. I'm going to die, right? At least give me a minute rest, coach. Right? At least give me a minute rest, right? Because by the way, he tries to emulate obviously the fight, right? So the fight's a 3-minute round, and then a minute rest. So anyway, that's what I'm talking about there when it comes down to your trading. So, and the purpose of bringing all that up now, it's going to wrap it all up, is that when we're looking at the markets now and we have a look at the actual stock market itself, we would know we're getting a similar pattern to what I've been talking about here, right? Now, what is that? The similar pattern is what? The similar pattern is that we've had a very big move up, we had a little sideways movement, and now we're getting going again. What is this likely to be here? Now, again, guys, if you're looking for a certainty, I'm looking for something that's definitely going to happen. The market's not there, right? It gives us a probability. What is the probability here of this continuing to have a big skyrocket up? 20%, 10%? And there's a really good 80%. What? That it hasn't had enough sideways movement or resting phase. So therefore, we're likely to get a what? A pullback. Now, we could go up for another 1 or 2 more days, right? But then eventually we're going to get a real good pullback in the markets there. So you see what I'm saying there, right? It's focusing on the most important things. Like I've got moving averages on the chart now, but just most of the time I'm actually just looking at the market like this here, right? Look at that there. So if I go back to this chart here, let me bring on a chart just with one moving average. If I go back to this chart here, we can see a sort of the similar same thing, right? Sort of similar to the same thing. There you go, right? So on the S&P, now the S&P is not quite, right? We had a bit of a move up and now we're doing this sort of stuff here. So we could get a little bit more movement to the upside, but now we're what? Now we're getting pretty overextended, right, to the upside. And you can see what happens when we get overextended for a while, we end up getting pullbacks. And this is the foundations, right, of what market's doing. And this is why, guys, I haven't exactly got it right, but I've been saying we're going to get a pullback sometime. And the last couple of weeks, we haven't got that pullback yet. Right, but it's coming. And again, I don't know exactly when that's coming, but it is going to come. And the more time that people think it's not going to come, then that's when it's really going to hit us hard, right? And it's probably going to hit us hard in the next couple of weeks as we see a really big pullback in the markets there. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys on this video here. Something a little bit differently when it comes down to the markets, but also a bit of a market update. Of course, obviously what's happening right now, and same for the actual Nasdaq itself as well too, right? So look at this here, right? Nasdaq did what? Up, sideways, and then up again. What do you think this is going to be, right? This is probably likely to be what? Due to the pattern that it's making, because guess what? We're getting good at reading the chart, right? Reading what the market is telling us. But if we are focused so much on this sort of stuff here, right? this sort of stuff here, drawing trend lines on this thing here, drawing trend lines here, looking at the stochastics, the RSI, right? If we're focusing so much on that, guess what? We're completely missing, but what's the market actually telling us? What's going on here, right? And so therefore, that's when we make better decisions, right? Because the indicators are lagging and so on and so forth. The number one thing we can actually do, right, is actually get good at reading this thing called the chart itself. So I hope this helps you out today, guys. The whole analogy here of breaking this down for you today was really getting you a good understanding of, don't expect to enter these markets probably for the first couple of years, and then expect to go straight into like doing drills like I shared with you a minute ago, right? Just like, for example, this here. Now, again, I'm not a professional boxer, and if you know anything about boxing, you would know there's a few things I can work on when it comes to that, right? It's probably more like distance management, a little bit more of my footwork, maybe slowing down a little bit more, being a bit more patient, a bit more present, and stuff like that, right? There's if you actually know anything about boxing, you probably know what I'm talking about. For you guys that don't know about boxing, you probably don't know what I'm talking about there. But there's a few things that I know I can work on, right? But that's okay. But the purpose is that I cannot go straight into what I just did there unless I started to layer up the foundations. It's the footwork, it's throwing the punch, it's learning the combination, it's then learning sliding, pivoting, all this sort of stuff that you heard my coach say a minute ago. And because I do that, I can now build up, and guess what? Because I do that so many that when I'm actually in the fight, it becomes unconscious competence because I've actually learned the proper things. And so if you're trading the markets right now and all you're focused on is the indicators, you're getting so good at reading the indicators and not the main thing, that's like me just doing a general boxing class and me expect to become a good fighter, right? No, I need to go get a coach, like a proper one-on-one coaching to really get the drills down, the footwork, the proper, where you can really spend some time with me and to go from there. So have a great weekend, guys, and I'll see you real soon.